Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. This is E.L. Pierce and hopefully you'll notice that I do not quite sound as dead and raspy as I did last time. That was simply because I was sick with a pretty severe cold or upper respiratory something infection. So I am getting over that. I'm not quite perfectly normal, but close. So today I thought I would make a brief video on the beginning stages of my writing process. As of today, I've written about 4 books, some of which are only in the first draft stages, as in a finished complete first draft, some of which have been drafted at least twice, and some 4 times. I am currently getting ready to publish my first book, Forces and the Malachite Stone, hopefully November 1st, but that doesn't mean that I quit. My mission is to publish as many books as possible before I die. No joke. That's my mission. With that said, I always have to start again, from scratch. First things first, I usually let an idea that sparks excitement in me come forward. I take those exciting things and that's what I dwell on. I don't look at the market like a lot of people advise. I don't see what's trending and try to write up based off of that. Simply because by the time you get through developing it and writing it and revising it and editing it and getting it ready for publication and then finally publishing it and then getting it to the people, the market has more likely changed or it's been saturated with it. A lot of people say write what you enjoy writing, write what you love, what you're passionate about, and I totally agree with that. Because if you like that, then you're going to love it, and that's the whole point. You love what you do and do what you love. I take those things that I love and enjoy and I surround myself with them. I eat a wolf back there. I love nature. I love animals. Those kind of things. And so I take those exciting thoughts and I start brainstorming. In the past, I would find music that kind of fit the mood of what I was feeling. So if it was like fairies, I would find light and happy music, fairy tale-ish music. And if it was something more dramatic, I might go for a more epic score. Simply because those are very thematic. And a lot of your movies are, they're scripted. But the point is, they're very well plot-oriented in the music. Your music tells a story. So I listen to music that really helps inspire me to get those ideas out. And sometimes I don't. So actually you have a point here. The point being I think of the ideas I enjoy most. And then I start writing them down and I find music to help inspire me with my thoughts. I used to do that on regular notebook paper. However, more recently, I've gotten some journals that you can carry around with you. That I write ideas down in, and some of you who are in school or not in school anymore, you may have had teachers who've had you do the whole bubble diagram, spider web, snowflake method. That's actually kind of helpful, believe it or not. What I'll do though, instead of writing on notebook papers, I'll use a journal. Sometimes it's newspaper, just kind of mix it together. And then once I have a fairly good, little fun ideas, and a somewhat clear concept of what the story could be about, then I start outlining. And a lot of people either do the full outline pantsing. They're pantsers. In other words, they sit at their edge of their seats and they just go through the manuscript. I don't do that because there's a big danger in doing that, simply in that if you just kind of write on the edge of your seat, yeah, it's fun and exciting if your story has enough momentum. And sometimes you have to kind of develop that momentum. You got to kind of plan for it so you don't kind of get lost and have that writer's block. So the other thing is that you can get highly sidetracked and you could be writing your story and then woo over here and then only to come back and you've got all the extra stuff that doesn't really go anywhere. So I don't do that. I outline because it keeps you on track. And it's still fun. You're still creating. You're just not typing it full out. You're not fleshing the entire story out with the little quirks and comments. But some people, for whatever reason, don't want to do a whole 25-page outline, and I get that. So, but then you've got something kind of in between where you do a bullet point outline. Believe it or not, I've done all 3 of these methods. The more fantastical your story is, the more you might want to do that, and the more realistic you may not have to. But it's always good to have a guiding point. Just because you don't like outlining doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. One other quick thing I wanted to add in here was the concept of outlining in relation to reading. So a lot of people will say, oh, outlining is not my style, so I'm just not going to do it. And I get that. But try to think about it like this. You can't really say, oh, reading is not my style, so I'm not going to do it. Now, you still have to read to know how to write well. It's a very good tool. Think of outlining as the same thing. Outlining is a very good tool for you to have to write with. So I understand a lot of people don't like it, but it's almost like it's acceptable not to outline because, oh, it's just not my style. Just because it's not your style doesn't mean it's not just as important as everything else we do as writers, like reading, for example, to improve our craft. So I'm not putting down anyone who doesn't outline, but rather I'm trying to make you think of outlining as a very important tool that can keep you on track. That if left out, yes, maybe more fun in the moment, isn't going to be as beneficial in the long run. So here's an example of an outline. Your outline doesn't have to look like this. This is what I do. This is my example. My example is my reasoning. Take it or leave it. But, so this is an example outline for the third book in my series. I've got the titles. I've got chapter 1, chapter 2, and this really isn't that much. This is chapter 1. This is basically what happens. Obviously, your chapters are going to be between 6 to 15 to 20 pages. I didn't really do that much. I just gave myself a brief outline. Here's what you want to happen. So, and then chapter 2, here's the key elements, things that you want to happen. So, and then it goes on, and it's really not that big of a deal. If I've got 18 chapters, I'm just breaking it up with little, like, summaries, paragraphs, so that when I sit down to write, I put this right there beside me, get my music, get inspired, whatever, and I know, okay, that's what I want to happen. That's what's going to happen next. Okay, cool. Now how can I flesh this out? How can I have fun with it? And that's really helpful, and it helps you from getting off task. One other thing is a lot of people have a problem with writing too much, and they have to go in and weave and cut a lot. When you outline, you don't have to do that as much because it really helps you stay on track, and you don't get off on all these little side tangents in your book about things that you don't need, and it helps you to write a lot more sharper. So from there, I usually start writing. There are other things you can do, such as character sheets, where basically you write a lot about your character, you try to get to know them better, but that is a tool. Because you don't want flat characters, you want round characters who stand off the page, who have multiple issues, and I was going to say personalities, that might not be something you want, but you want them to be dynamic, in other words, not the traditional villain. You want someone who can be bad, but can be good too. You want those elements, so that helps people. And then, of course, they have beat sheets. They have other things that kind of help you make sure that you're plotting these things, so you don't write a whole book where it's never really tense. Well, an outline or beat sheets and those things really help because you want every chapter that you write to have something happen, to keep you going. You don't want to take several chapters to move the story along. You should be able to look into every chapter and say, okay, in this chapter, yeah, there was this and this, but this happened. That moved the story. This happened. That moved the story. The point is, you want things to happen in every chapter, moving the story forward. So I'm a big advocate of outlining. I'm a big advocate of those things. And the cool thing is, though, if you're not an advocate of outlining, once you write your story, there are still revision checklists and all these other things. I can get into revision later for you that can help you to make sure that you have those things in your stories. The only thing is you're probably going to have a little bit more work when you go back to rewrite your story. It's honestly, either way it's work. It's honestly easier to prepare yourself and get it pretty right the first time than to do it all on the whim. Sometimes a book is such a big piece of work, it's really overwhelming when you come back to it and you don't prep yourself for it beforehand because you've got all this to work with now. And you think that's helpful. No, it's not. It's like you've got all this to work with and you don't sometimes know where to start. What do you got to change or you got to keep? It's a lot. So I use my creative fun ideas that interest me. I use music. I write down ideas, I brainstorm them, and then I outline them. So the other thing I would recommend is getting books about writing that help you soak it in. You love the craft, right? Well, learn about it, read it. There's a really good book called The Writer's Little Helper, and you can get it at your local library, more than likely, or at least check it out on Amazon. So those are some tips for beginning a novel, some things to definitely avoid and to think about before starting your novel. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, or videos you'd like me to talk to you about or explain anything, definitely put that in the comments below so I can get back to you on that. Go ahead and subscribe if you'd like, because I will be putting more videos out there. That way you'll know when they're up there about the writing topics that I plan to share on. And go ahead and give it a thumbs up too, so I'll know you liked it. Other than that, thanks for joining on this lovely day, and happy writing.